big picture goal, if you can think back to July of 2014 to present and kind of all that you went through, I guess, with our platform and anywhere else to get to the point where you are now, which is, practice sold and accomplished what you were looking to accomplish through the site. We just want to be able to tell that story and obviously share your story with other people that may be in the same position or thinking about that at some point in the future.
I think it first started, probably 3-4 years ago. I wasn't really necessarily thinking about selling. I'm 65 right now. I was just thinking about the future and what my options were. And then I bought some publications on what the value of financial planning practices were, how to determine that, and just learned on my own, going on Amazon and finding different publications and so on. And I studied up on it. And then I got more serious. In my particular case, there was 2 reasons. One of them was my wife was quite ill, and I was acting as a caregiver. And the other was the rumblings of the new DOL rule that was coming on stream. And so this sort of put a little fire under me to act sooner rather than later to determine what I should do, if anything, because my plans were basically just to keep working as long as I possibly could, because most of my business was trails. Then saying the deal, like I said, what was happening in the industry as far as the DOL rule, because I really wasn't into fee-based planning, and I did a lot of retirement plans, a lot of rollovers from 401ks, and I saw some implications there that I wasn't really too comfortable with in the way my business is operated, a lot of annuities. So I started doing more research on the internet, looking for companies or consultants that specialized in buying and selling or bringing parties together. And then, so then that brought me to signing up for your service.
You had gotten an original valuation on your practice and then looked to get another valuation or do some independent study on your own. I guess what led you to not take that first valuation? Was it just a number you weren't comfortable with? Were you curious as to whether it could be more or less, or you just wanted a second opinion?
I felt it was too low. I did. And as it turned out, I was right. But then again, I had that done 3 or 4 years ago, but still, there wasn't that much difference in the numbers. So I just felt that the work that I had done for 30 years and the success that I had attained and the business I had built certainly should be more than what they had valued it at. So I guess that was the reason that I thought to do more research.
Gotcha. From the time that you paid for the account, I guess your first interaction with buyers, what did that look like? And I guess your experience creating your account and kind of putting your overview or business description on there to actually getting feedback and getting interest from buyers.
Well, then that's when I took it serious that, I bought this. So then I took some time to fill out the profile and do it, professionally. And I immediately started getting responses. So, then I
within the day, within the hour.
Well, no, I would say days. Every day, almost immediately. I don't know if it's how I wrote it up or what. Although I do have to admit, my practice, I think, was the type of practice that people are looking for. I put in as a title. I put 64-year-old looking for options going forward. So, in other words, I was communicating that I'm willing to look at many different type proposals, and I'm flexible. And, what have you got to offer? And then I put, highlights of the business, mostly all trails, mostly all direct investments, mostly all retirement accounts, mostly annuities and mutual funds. I put it right down there exactly, or, from a not real detailed, but And, very simple business, could make an easy, seamless transition to take it over. I try to make it sound attractive. So anyway, I started getting responses at that point, quite a few. So then I knew that this service was something that a lot of people were using. So then I started thinking more seriously about things, that there really was a market out there for my business, and so on. So that's where I was at that point.
And so, one of the things I hear you saying is that you realized there was a market for your business.
Yeah.
Were you questioning as to whether there was prior to signing up for the site?
I really was, because I'm located in a rural area. What I didn't realize was, evidently, a lot of the practices out there, the larger ones, are merging or buying practices all over the country. They don't necessarily have to be right next door. And that was sort of surprising to me, that I had interest from people everywhere from California to Arizona, Pennsylvania, Vermont, you name it. And quite frankly, I couldn't quite figure out how they could do that. But they, through conversations with them, advised me that they had done it with others.
Gotcha. And for the buyers that I guess first approached you, did you get the sense that they were prepared? And did you get the sense that they had read through the details and the descriptions that you provided in your profile on Succession Link?
Well, what happened was, as soon as they contacted me, I had made up what I called merger buyout acquisition candidate general consideration profile. And so what I did was, as soon as they contacted me, I would email them back, and then I'd say to them, are you interested in getting more confidential details? Or else I talk to them on the phone usually first. And they say yes, even before I really got into much. So then I emailed them this. And, this is just a basic breakdown here I've got written up. And I got about 15 bullet points, and right down to the nitty gritty, so they know exactly. Production, assets under management, trails, client profile information, P&L expenses, company asset breakdown is attached confidentially for your review. And then I have further bullet points. Established in 1988, branch office such a location, age 54 and a half. Wife is disabled, recently declined, requires more family care. Desire to merge with a firm where our buyout is done, but I would remain licensed to be able to do business and help transition. I believe we need to advise clients of no changes. Real estate is available to be purchased, $125,000. In any scenario, I would expect your firm to bring in your guns, expertise, experience, and manpower to make transition easy and seamless. I'm a very reasonable person. Were to surface any issues, I would be there to help you. I desire to deal with a reputable firm that's done this before. I would prefer a brand name. Currently, I have attractive offers ranging in the area of X and X, with or without real estate. My goal is to obtain the maximum upfront payment with absolute guarantees of paramount importance. If you wish to discuss further, I give phone number or email. My goal for making a deal is 5/1/2016. They got everything. I told them everything. And that way they knew exactly what the deal was, what I was looking for, and so on. And I had a lot of people come back to me and tell me that they really like that. They said, they sensed the way I think, that I was organized, that I was prepared, and it wasn't wishy-washy, but this and that. This is it. If you're serious, then contact me. And I sent that out. Then, not to get ahead of myself, but as I was going through this process, what I discovered was that I went through and I spent hours and hours going through all your people on the list that were looking to do a merger or a buyout. And I screened out the ones I thought would be interested in mine. And I sent them a correspondence to probably 200 or 300 or 400, telling them that I basic information. I didn't send them out the confidentiality thing, and if they wanted to discuss or more information, to contact me. And so I actually did, prospecting, so to speak, and I got a lot of them back from that too. I took a proactive role in going through and reviewing their goals and thinking to myself, and I was surprised. It was unbelievable. A lot of them that I didn't even really think would be that interested got back to me. I even had a company out of Wall Street that wanted me to work for them and set up a branch office. And then I had another one that wanted to, merge with them, and all these different kinds of scenarios. So I did that.
So very cool. So sounds like you not only had buyers or advisors considering merging with you, reaching out to you directly, but you went one step further, which was searching out other members of the Succession Link community and actually proactively reaching out to them as well.
Yeah. And some of the finalists that I talked to were those that I reached out to them. Because let's say, they didn't happen to see mine, or they didn't spend a lot of time. They might not see my listing, and I brought it to their attention.
And what did those first messages look like for your, I guess, the campaign, the proactive campaign where you were taking the first step and reaching out? What type of messages were you sending to those people?
I think it was just my link to my listing.
Got it. Okay.
You know what I mean? You can correspond between one another on your site. So basically, I think what I did is I remember right, it was just basically a link or to my site.
Mm-hmm. And did you leverage the mapping feature in terms of finding folks that were close to you, or were you doing it simply through the marketplace list search?
Both. One of my goals was to find someone as close as possible, and preferably number one in New York State, my same state, and then number two, as close to me as possible. That's how I narrowed it down. The ones that I got from out of state and all the other states, I really didn't send to them necessarily.
Okay. And so now you have a pool of folks that are potential buyers or potential firms to merge with. Then where did conversations go? And I guess what did the interactions look like from there? And how many prospects are we talking about at this point?
Well, I had it narrowed down to what I felt would be possibilities of maybe 12. And then I talked to him on the phone a few times, back and forth. And then I set up meetings, in-person meetings. So I started out with maybe 12 or 15 good prospects. And then through telephone conversations, narrowed it down to where I actually met with 6 parties. I got proposals. They all gave me. Then we talked in terms more of how they would do it or what they propose and what would work for both of us. Then it was a matter of who I was comfortable with and then what proposals I liked best. And then it came down to 2. One guy, Port Jefferson, Long Island, who was one of the guys that I had prospected him. And I really liked those guys. And what I also wanted was, of those 6, 3 of them were only like individual guys. And I wanted a team of people, which I felt would be strong in making the transition from my clients to them. So the last two I talked to, there was more or less a team that I'd be working with, opposed to just one individual guy.
And is that something that you had in your thoughts at the outset of this entire experience, or was it something that you found out after maybe talking to a handful of people?
It's something I found out in talking to a handful of people. Not really right from the beginning. I didn't really know. I wasn't really thinking along those lines. But then as I got into it, then it came clear to me that this could be a very positive thing if it was more of the team approach. I learned a lot going through the whole process. I really did.
And I guess what was the biggest surprise for you through the process?
I think the biggest surprise was the number of people I had contact me. It's like at least 5 or 6 every day. I mean, I couldn't believe it.
So I guess what would be a piece of advice that you would give to any other advisor before they join Succession Link or while they're a part of the community that you think would help make a better experience for anybody that, again, is either on the platform or considering it?
Well, as a seller, I think I would do my homework, make sure I had all the data that they would need to be able to make a decision pretty much up front, rather than dragging it out. People lose interest and they go elsewhere, where they can see it, bang, this is something I like. And, put it right out there in the most attractive way you can, in a professional piece that you could send to them as a follow-up to the people that you thought would be possible candidates. I felt that was very helpful for me.
When you started to reach out to people, if you could maybe think back to that, what about, outside of maybe geography, what was it about the people that you found on the site to proactively reach out to? Was it the description within their business? Was it their business mix? Or was it something just completely different from all of that?
No, I think it was their business mix and their geographic location. If they were like a team of advisors, organization.
And then did you find that there were many descriptions that talked about that because when I hear your description, the biggest thing that stood out to me was the way you were able to articulate where you were and what you wanted to have happen, but also leaving the door open and saying that you were flexible.
Right. Yes.
Did you get the sense that other people described their practice in a way that perhaps suggested to you that they were flexible about terms, or I guess anything along those lines?
Well, no, they were all pretty flexible. I mean, they would make arrangements whatever way I thought it would work. And obviously, we weren't talking necessarily money or those details as much as we were the concept of how it would come together and how that would work. And actually, as it got down to the nitty gritty, I was able to negotiate to get better than what I had originally thought.
We love to hear it. I guess one of in a lead up call, and I think even at the beginning of this call, you had mentioned that how the $850 investment made you a millionaire. And we certainly enjoy hearing things like that. But I guess if you could be more specific in terms of the structure of the deal or negotiating it up a bit, what did that look like in the end for you?
Well, it worked out to almost 3 times trails. Plus, they purchased the real estate. So, I mean, in terms of dollars, I was doing like $225,000 with about $200,000 in trails, and I got $600,000 for the business and $125,000 for the office. So I got $725,000. So I got $450,000 at the closing in cash. And then I got another $125,000 in cash for the property at the closing. And that just happened a couple of weeks ago. And then I'm just going to get one more payment of $150,000 as long as I transition 80% of the clients, and right now we're at 92. I get another 150,000 into the 25th month. And then if I was less than 75%, I still would have got 75,000. But over 80%, I get 150,000. So I mean, it's like, to me, everything was almost guaranteed. I mean, it was unbelievable compared to the deals that I'd started out with people.
That's very good to hear. Well, Tom, I want to thank you again for obviously sharing your experience and on the platform. Is there anything else, I guess, kind of final thoughts or things that you would share with, again, any prospective user or your peers in the industry about our platform and about your experience?
If they're thinking at all of wanting to do something, either, by way of retirement, merger, buying a business or whatever, I would just say to them that the best place that I know of to go is to register for succession link.